What's good, YouTube? Underworld6667 here, coming at you with another episode of Binder Blunders. This one, I'm not wearing pants. Not sure why I mentioned that.
All the way from Tokyo, Japan to Toronto, here's another episode of Binder Blunder.
So, as you guys can tell by the fabulous title, this is a special episode of Binder Blunders, in that we are not going to be talking about card prices or how to make money or how not to make Binder Blunders, except for the fact that you can not make Binder Blunders by playing very well or competitively. So we're going to be talking about how you, the viewer, can become more competitive at this game. Now, the first thing that I wanted to talk about is thank you guys for following me on Twitter. If you guys have not followed me on Twitter or friend requested me on Facebook, please look at the description bar below for that information. I also wanted to thank Dale Bolito for suggesting on Facebook this afternoon to make this episode. Now, as you guys can also tell by the title, it is all about adaptation and change. Now, adaptation and change means you're reformatting your deck or rethinking your deck or retacking different choices in your deck in order to remain competitive or stay competitive. Now, as you guys can tell about every single format, it always starts off with this clusterfuck of different decks just appearing and then slowly getting weeded out until we find the best deck of the format. Now, the past two formats, it has been Dragons. I know there have been a lot of competitive decks, however, the overall idea was Dragons. Now, if you look at the actual Dragons, in order for them to stay competitive and beat other Dragon decks, they had to adapt. The introductions of excess Dragon Ravines and the use of Dragoonides and all that kind of thing is an adaptation or a change in the deck to stay competitive. You have to make sure that you're staying competitive by putting a little bit of a competitive edge into your deck to be able to face off against mirror matches or even your worst matchup, such as Evilswarns and that kind of thing. So how do you remain competitive, or how do you change your deck, or how do you adapt to your deck? It's pretty much just watching what people are doing. Watching YouTube videos, watching your locals. I mean, if you're only playing at your locals, there's no real point in adapting to the entire world's view of different decks. It's almost impossible. So if you're looking at your locals itself, there is always a champion player or pro player that plays a similar deck over and over and over again because they believe that that is the most competitive deck. So your ultimate goal is to beat everyone that's above you or better or even at an equal level to you. Usually you are able to beat the people who are not adapting or are not as good at the game as you are. Usually with just good plays, good reads, that kind of thing. But when we're actually looking at the actual analysis of the playing, that's going to be in a future episode. So, moving back towards the change, you're going to look at your locals. If it's all Dragons, you might want to put a little bit more Dragon hate in your side deck or even main deck, just to make sure that you're competitive. If you're going to regionals or something like that, you may want to look at your overall area's deck choices. Now, it's not going to be as easy, but attending different card shops in your area might give you a better understanding of what people are playing. If you're looking at my area, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, technically 6, 7, 8 different tournaments that I could go to within about an hour's drive. Unless you count Hamilton, but nobody likes Hamilton. Sorry, people from Hamilton, but you know it's right. Now, if you want to look at a YCS perspective, you have to look at it on a national scale. Look at YouTube. Look at different posts. Look at different forums. What are people talking about? What are people teching? What are people suggesting that the best deck of the format is? You will have to go on a national scale in order to find that out, because people come from all over the place just to come to these YCSs, nationals, ARG circuits, so on and so forth. So, in order to stay competitive, ultimately, you have to make sure that you're adapting. Your deck was good, but remember, everyone else is adapting around you as well. So if you're the top player at your locals right now, that means somebody's looking out to beat you. So you have to make sure that you have that little tech choice or that little edge in order to make yourself more competitive. Hopefully you guys found this very entertaining as well as informative. Make sure you like, favorite, and subscribe. Make sure you share it with all your friends. And as always, don't make those binder blunders.